What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. This is Cadman Cycling, and we're here back at Crit City, another Zwift race. This is my favorite race in the game, but I've been away from it for a little bit, so I'm excited to be back here, giving everyone another race breakdown as we start this 9.8 mile race. That's 8 laps around this Crit City circuit, meaning each lap is 1.2 miles. This race is actually from a couple months ago, so I had a bit of a different FTP at the time, and a bit of a spoiler, actually. At the time of this race, this turned out to be my best power wattage yet. It is no longer, but at the time I was pretty happy with this result. So we're making this one a bit of a quicker video using the following format. So I'll kind of just ride along here for the first half a mile or so, not even quite the first lap, and then I'll immediately jump into the last 2 laps, and we can just watch it together, kind of break down how I'm feeling throughout the race. We had a nice sized group here, over 70 people in category C. That's the category that I race in within Zwift, and I have for the major part of this year as I started making YouTube videos. So this first lap, we started with some tough power out of the starting gates, but that's Zwift, that's Crit City. Really gets your heartbeat elevated quickly. So we're just in a large group, and the goal here is stick with this group. Don't let any brakes go off the front. They rarely do in Zwift, I think, compared to outdoor racing. There's less attacks, especially in category C, so the goal here is just stay with this group, conserve some energy. As we go down the cobbled climb, we will go ahead and skip forward. So here we are. This is the very end of lap 6, and we skipped ahead 7 miles, but actually not much has happened. So we still have this very large group on the front. 20 or so riders, and it's been a tough race. So as we go through the banner, we now have 2 laps left. My heart rate's sitting at 190 beats per minute, which, I mean, I guess that's kind of normal for Crit City. It's all fast, but definitely working hard, trying to stay with this group. As we get to kind of this little roller section, I got a drafting boost through the line, so I'll use that here. This is an easy place to get dropped as people go over the rollers and kind of some push it, some kind of fall behind. So it's always nice to have this drafting boost. Generally, when I get it at a Crit City lap, this is where I'll use it, just to make sure I don't get dropped. I know a few times I've been hit with a burrito going through this area, so don't want that to happen. Use the drafting boost just to make sure I stay with this group and conserve energy as much as possible. So now just 2 miles left, still with this large group. A lot of people used their power-ups on that same section right after the lap starts. Generally in these Zwift races, and I think I read this somewhere, is that the second last lap is actually the slowest of the race. It kind of makes sense to me. I think people are trying to really save their energy for the last sprint, and maybe the second last lap is really where they start thinking about doing that. They realize kind of the toll that the majority of the race is taken on them, whether it's their heart rate or their legs, and they kind of use this second last lap as a recovery lap. It was definitely an interesting perspective. I hadn't noticed that, but again, I wasn't really looking at the times between laps, so it could definitely be true. I know, kind of apart from cycling, when people are talking about running a mile and it's 4 laps around a 400 meter track, that generally the third lap is the toughest one. That's where you really start to hit fatigue. You're not on the last stretch yet, so you're not thinking about putting in that final sprint. So I guess the same goes for cycling. It's just not the last, I guess not 3/4 of the way through the race. It's kind of just in this area at Crit City, it's just the second last lap. And as we come here kind of to the end of the penultimate lap, I'm really starting to think about all these corners coming up to the finish line and starting to time my sprint. Definitely sprint timing, especially in a group finish, is important. You don't want to go too early where you get passed at the line, but you don't want to wait too long, and then people can kind of sprint in front of you, and you'll never be able to catch them if you start your sprint too late and you just leave too much out there. You want to be kind of crossing the line at full speed, giving it everything you possibly have, so you couldn't like turn the pedal over again. So really, timing just comes with doing these races a lot, and can definitely be experimented with, whether going early, deciding to go late, and it's different for everyone. So definitely experimenting with it is the best way to do it. So here we are, last lap. Again, I got a drafting boost. Again, I use it on this same area. As we can see, I think there were 3 other riders there, all using drafting boosts, as it's still this large group together. But this lap is definitely much faster than the last lap. The front group, who's kind of been just hanging out on the front, not necessarily needing to feel like they had to push it, is now starting to push the pedals. And then the group kind of at the back, which is where I find myself here, is really just struggling to hold on. So the result of that pushed pace is this is much more strung out. So if you were to rewind the video 2 or 3 minutes, it was a much larger group, but all very closely packed together. Now it's almost turning into this single file. And I kind of am finding myself near the end here, and all of a sudden my heart rate's up to 193. There's half a mile left, and I've already lost the race. There's a gap in front of me that's so strung out that the leaders are now 10 seconds ahead of me, probably 8 to 10 seconds. So it's no longer, I'm not going to be at the sprint finish. So I'm starting to think, okay, I know I'm hurting, just 0.3 miles left. Still got to give it everything I can in the sprint. There's still this group of 3 in front of me. I got this one guy behind me. So continuing to put out the effort. Actually, now I'm down to 200 watts, but I want to get up higher than that, especially with only 0.2 miles left. So this guy starts to pass me. This group in front isn't really picking up the pace, so this is where I hit 300 watts, up to 400, really starting to think about the sprint. So it's really me and these 4 people in front of me now. Just 400 feet left, and I haven't started my sprint, so I really waited too long here to start my sprint. Here I go all out. I do actually pass the majority of that group. Not many of them sprinted, but that's the race. So overall average power 255, which was my best at the time. I was happy with this finish. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this race breakdown. I can't wait to bring you all more Crit City races in the future, and other places in Zwift, of course. So until next time, thanks for watching. This is Cadman Cycling. Bye.